The average human spends 9 to 10 hours sitting each and every day. Whether at work, at school, in the car, or on the couch at home, all of the sitting can actually be quite dangerous. Recent studies are showing a correlation between a sedentary lifestyle and an increase in various diseases and premature death. Perhaps a busy schedule has caused you to sideline exercise in your life, or perhaps you simply lack the motivation to get started. In today's program, we'll learn how anyone at any time can start and continue exercising. We'll witness the transformational power of exercise, and we'll discover a new delicious recipe to help fuel us on this journey of exercise. All this and more on today's episode of New Start Now. Hiking is a great way to get your heart rate up and spend some time in nature. Sometimes it's hard to start exercising, but once you do, it's worth it. It can give you a new perspective on life and can give you a new start. I'm your host, Jonathan Hunter, and today we're going to be looking at exercise, one of the 8 components to a healthy lifestyle. Maybe it's something that you dread, something that you don't want to do, but we're going to show you how exercise can change your life. Up next, we're going to have a powerful testimony about just this.
For me, starting with COVID in 2020 was very challenging. I went from walking around campus with my students to sitting in front of my laptop for 10 to 12 hours a day. My typical day was I went from my bedroom to my office, and from my office to my recliner, and then to bed. And other than walking my dog, I probably maybe would get 1,500 to 2,000 steps a day. When I was working in school, I would say I probably would get about 10 to 12,000 steps a day. So to go from that down to maybe 1,500 just wasn't good. I felt pretty sluggish. I felt like I was really slow. I felt really tired. I didn't have a lot of energy. And I just pretty much just got comfortable sitting in front of the computer. So in December of 2020, I did participate in the checkup that my district was giving, and I had never seen so much red. So my cholesterol was high and my A1C was high, and I knew right then I needed to make a change. I had known about NEWSTART at Weimar for quite some time, so I went online and I found the information. I called and I spoke with someone here, and unfortunately I wasn't able to start the residential part at that time, so I signed up for NEWSTART Online, and I participated in NEWSTART Online. I participated in the Zoom calls. I read the material online. I watched the cooking demos, and I also went on to the YouTube channel and I watched all of the testimonials there as well. And it made me feel inspired that, I know I need to do this. Towards the end of May, my doctor had put me on blood pressure meds about 2 weeks before the next NEWSTART session. So for me, that was kind of the final straw that I knew I had to be actually at the program for the full time to get the full benefits. When I met with Dr. K, my initial blood work here, the baseline, was better than my previous at home, but it was still not good.
I was thinking about what to do, and my prescription for her in regards to exercise was to start just where she was. and to add a little bit more. And with a goal like in the first week or so to get at least to about 5,000 steps, and then we would just see how it went from there, hopefully to get her up to 10 or more thousand steps by the time she left.
I was definitely a very reluctant walker, and I could barely make it around the half-mile loop without having to stop 3-4 times to catch my breath.
To go from reluctant to really be on board was when she realized that she was at high risk for cardiovascular disease, and this was based on the lab work that we did when she first got here. She had a number of things, cholesterol, inflammatory markers, other things that just put her in a high-risk category. And I think that was very sobering for her.
So I started doing the 5,000 steps around campus, and once I got to that point, he encouraged me to raise it up to 10,000, which I did, and next thing I know, I'm doing 10,000, 12,000, up to almost 20,000 steps a day. My feet used to always swell, so my feet don't swell anymore. I'm noticing that I'm walking a lot faster. I'm able to walk up the hills. I'm able to do the trails. And I just noticed that I'm able just to walk quicker and can hold a conversation now. And when I'm not walking, I'm feeling like I need to get outside and I need to jump on a trail, or I need to walk around campus. I just think I'm more on top of my game, not being so sluggish and tired from not exercising all the time.
And what was really exciting for her was at the end when we repeated lab work that tested for cardiovascular risk, and you could see just improvement in all those numbers, from her cholesterol numbers to her inflammatory number.
My cholesterol had gone down, my A1C had gone down, and my final test results were much better. My cholesterol went down, my blood sugar was down, my blood pressure was down, and I was no longer on the road for a cardiac event. The thing that stood out for me as far as exercise is how important it is to get up and to get out and to get moving. Whether it's in nature or just around my neighborhood, that, we're not designed to just sit. We are meant to get out and move, so exercise is key. I plan to continue my exercise with the steps because I wasn't able to walk a half mile, and now I can walk 8 to 10 miles a day. I'm looking forward to going back and sharing everything that I've learned at NEWSTART with my friends, my family, my church family, and just the fact of exercise being the most important thing for me, the keystone. It holds all of the NEWSTART principles together.
Oftentimes it's difficult to muster up the motivation to start exercising. Unrealistic goals or sometimes just laziness prevents us from taking that first step. Going on a walk like this is my favorite way to literally take that first step towards exercise. Spending time in the sun, fresh air, and seeing beautiful landscapes like this make walking one of my favorite things to do. Research actually shows that going on consistent walks lowers your risk for many diseases and illnesses. Up next, we'll hear more about the many health benefits of exercise and walking from our NEWSTART medical team.
Oh, you want me to do this thing?
Yeah, go for it.
You're serious?
Yeah. Take one. The biggest health problem of the 21st century is lack of physical activity.
We are made out of muscles.
So our bodies were made to move, and lack of exercise
Would include higher heart rates actually during your resting times, because our exercise helps to lower our pulse. It helps to lower our blood pressure.
The inflammatory effects of not exercising.
not getting exercise, our circulation doesn't do as well. We don't burn as many calories, so we have a greater propensity to gain weight.
There's this balance between calorie intake and calorie burning.
Short-term effects of lack of exercise would be muscle atrophy.
Just as a principle, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Enough evidence to show that lack of physical exercise also is associated with an increased risk of dementia.
When we exercise, we tend to be younger and healthier and have more energy.
If you want to have a strong immune system, you've got to exercise.
Exercise is actually better for our brain than it is our body. Most people know it's great for the body, but it is even better for the brain.
As we exercise, and studies have shown that there are all kinds of chemicals, neurotransmitters, that are firing in your brain. It's like throwing Miracle-Gro on your brain. One is called brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Literally on a petri dish, when they sprinkle this on brain neurons or dendrites, they just start growing.
Our receptors for our neurotransmitters actually increase when we are on a regular exercise program. It takes them about a week to do that. So if you're not exercising, don't think you're going to feel better much, by going out and having an hour of exercise. It takes about 7 days for those receptors to start to change at the cellular level.
So both short-term and long-term, if you're an exercising person, it doesn't take a ton. Even 30 minutes of moderate exercise a day will help with all sorts of mental health issues, like depression, like anxiety, like panic disorder, like attention deficit disorder in children, like ADHD in children.
Exercising daily is really important.
There are studies that have gone on to show that kids who are more actively exercising do better in school.
White blood cells can increase, cholesterol can decrease, stress hormones can decrease, good feel hormones can increase.
It can help our well-being, it can help our emotional level, it increases the endorphins, so it's like a natural high.
We recommend daily exercise, and we recommend at least, for the best, 1 hour of good vigorous exercise a day.
There's nothing magical about the 60 minutes, but when people put in at least an hour a day, we find that their blood pressure goes down, their cholesterol goes down, they have less weight, and they have more energy, and their blood sugars go down.
If we say that a little is good, that a lot is better, it doesn't work that way with exercise. There's an optimal amount of exercise that we should do, and we shouldn't overdo it.
The best exercise for your health to begin with is walking.
Walking 30 minutes, and at a pace, I would say 20 minutes for a mile. That seems like a fairly reasonable, accomplishable thing.
Well, what is best is actually particularly aerobic. Don't ever get on an exercise program where you don't have aerobic exercise. Aerobic means repetitive. It means you're having to take deep breaths. It means you're having to work at it. This would be like running, swimming, bicycling, brisk walking, where you're having to get your breathing up. This is the aerobic exercise that really works.
For those people that can't do that kind of exercise because of their knees, I would recommend using a stationary bicycle. That's where you can actually have that support. But if you can't, and you're able to go into even a hot sauna or a pool, if it's safe, if your physician agrees with it, that is sort of an exercise equivalent, because you're getting your heart rate up. It's a cardiovascular equivalent, so you're getting your heart rate up and your blood pressure. And there is some data from Finland where they do a lot of this kind of research that going into a sauna or a hot pool can be just as good as exercise.
Developing a habit
takes a decision to do that. And then it takes consistency.
Schedule it as though you schedule time to eat, and then tie it usually with something that you do. For example, go for a walk after you eat, just a short walk.
Think about, well, okay, I'm gonna park the car real far from the store and walk to the store briskly, because I'm trying to get exercise. Okay, I'm trying to include my exercise in my life.
They took registered nurses and they've tracked them, and they tracked those nurses who exercise. They have longevity that is statistically profoundly significant, in some cases 10 to 12 years longer.
I'll have patients come and see me and they'll tell me I exercised 3 days last week, and they're kind of proud of themselves. And I'll say to them, well, if it's your medicine, would you go to your doctor and kind of be proud about, I took my medicine 3 times last week? You need to take your medicine every day, so in the same way you need to take your exercise every day. Hi there, I'm Dr. Gallant. Did you know the Harvard alumni study shows that moderate exercise decreases the risk of stroke? The researchers cited walking as a very effective form of exercise for stroke reduction. go for a walk today.
As you can see, I'm convinced. And with all this exercise, I've worked up quite an appetite. Let's run over to the NEWSTART kitchen to see what they have for us this time.
Hello, and welcome to the NEWSTART kitchen. My name is Nicole Ramos, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to make fresh rolls from scratch. They're so easy to make, and yet they're a food that we tend to only really have when we go out to eat. But I'm here to change that and show you how to do it in the comfort of your own home. Right, so here are the ingredients for the tofu. So we have 1 block of tofu. This is a 14-ounce block, and it's super firm. The firmer, the better. And I've cut it into 18 strips. We have 1/4 cup of Bragg's liquid aminos, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of ginger. And what you're going to do is just put all of that into a bowl to make your marinade for your tofu. And actually, you don't really need to keep or marinate this in and leave the tofu resting in it. What we're going to do is just dip the tofu onto here and bake it for about 30 to 40 minutes until it's nice and hardened and golden. Okay, there we go, that's done. Put all my bits to the side, and I'm going to bring my baking sheet here. Okay, so because you're not using oil, you do want to get a non-stick baking sheet. And that's because you don't want to be freaking out once these babies have come out of the oven. And you're just going to dip them in like so and just put them onto your baking tray. I'm not going to bore you because I know that you could probably do this really well. I'm just going to say when you're done, you'll end up with quite a lot, well, not quite a lot, quite a lot of this, well, some of this powder at the bottom. And if you just spoon it onto your tofu, it helps it create the most delicious crust, which will really help bring out those flavors in your fresh rolls. So that's a little tip for you. I'm going to finish these off, put them in the oven on 400 for about 30 to 40 minutes, and then I'll come back and show you the finished result. Okay, so my tofu has finished baking, and as you can see, they are looking fabulous. And they came up right off the pan. Make sure you use that non-stick, yeah? Good. We'll put these to the side, and I'll just run you through some of my add-ons for this particular dish. So first we have some butter lettuce, and the reason why I chose butter lettuce is because it's so soft and malleable. And this is kind of what you need to make really perfect spring rolls or fresh rolls. We have some bean vermicelli. Alternatively, you could use rice noodles. We have some cucumber, and they are just sliced like that, not too thick. We have some julienne carrots, some thinly cut cabbage, some cilantro, some sliced avocado, and some sesame seeds. Oh, and last but not least, let's not forget the star of the show, our tofu. Okay, so if you're not familiar with fresh rolls, you won't be familiar with rice paper. This is just essentially rice, and the way you activate it or you make it just right to eat is you soak it in water. And the way I like to do it is in a plate like this, a high-walled plate, and you're just going to leave it there for about 5 seconds, not longer. You want it to be like this, but not sticky and soft. If by the time you remove it from the water, it's sticky and soft, throw it out and use another one. It's going to be really hard and really sticky for you to roll it up. So, here's how you do it. You're going to be working on this middle part here because you're going to be folding it like a burrito. Get your noodles down, and this one I like to call rainbow rolls, and you'll see why. Try not to put too much of each ingredient inside. One of the biggest mistakes people make with these rolls is just putting too much. Then it becomes really hard to close. At this point, I'm going to dip my avocado onto the sesame seeds. It's messy, but so worth it. Super cute. You're going to get another piece, dip it again, and then carry on with your ingredients. And there are so many ways that you can do this. You can take your cilantro leaves and break them off and lay them down. And this is, just to show how creative you can get with this. I'll put more cilantro because I love it. And let's not forget the life of the party here, the tofu. It's nice and salty, so it adds good flavor to that. So level of difficulty with this is quite high if you are a beginner, just because you have to make sure that you're rolling and tucking and holding all of these things in. Oh, my little leaf there. I want it to show. And you're just gonna roll like a burrito. Roll, 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 and look at that. Nice and closed. And look at all those colors. So you see the cilantro leaves, the cabbage, the avocado with the sesame seeds, the carrots, the cucumbers, and there you have it, your very own rainbow roll. And you can serve it with a lovely almond butter sauce. And there's a recipe up for it on one of my earliest videos, so be sure to check that out. But for now, I cannot resist. That's so good. So many flavors, sweet, salty, there's a little bit of sour. Oh, amazing. You have to try this. But while I'm, doing this, I'll let you go and I'll see you on my next video.
Hopping on a bike and going for a ride is one of my favorite ways to get some exercise while enjoying the beauty of nature. Not only is biking a great aerobic activity that can help strengthen your heart and lungs, but it's good for the environment and can be enjoyed at almost any age. Up next, we'll hear about the age-defying effects of exercise from Dr. Gallant.
With us today, we have Dr. Roger Gallant, who is the medical director for the NEWSTART program here on the Weimar Institute. And today he's going to be talking to us about exercise. So in this episode, we've been learning about exercise, and I'm hoping maybe you can share with us what are some of the long-term and short-term effects of exercise on our body.
Well, exercise in the short term actually gets your blood circulating better, which is one of the ways to keep your body healthy. We want to make sure that we have good circulation, and when we start using large muscle groups, they require more circulation to help them to function better. Exercise also has an effect of lowering your blood pressure and lowering your blood sugar. And so those effects start pretty quickly as you start to exercise, but they've shown, research shows that for example, blood sugar lowering effect can last for up to 16 hours after you exercise. So that's a pretty long-term effect, and it's one of the best ways to treat diabetes and high blood pressure and heart disease is by increasing your exercise. Also, as you exercise, you start to lose weight. And weight loss, for many of us, can be very crucial to being healthier. And so I think exercise is a great medicine to treat some of these lifestyle diseases that we see.
I think that's a great way to put it, a great medicine. And I'm wondering too, we've talked about the body, but what about the mind? What are maybe some simple and rapidly occurring benefits that you can see from exercise in the mind, even in the short term and the long term?
So as you start to exercise, like we said, circulation improves. You're going to get better blood flow to your brain. That means you're going to get more oxygen and more glucose. Our brains require oxygen and glucose to function optimally. And so as we start to exercise, we're going to increase blood flow to the brain, which is going to make the brain work better. Also, exercise releases endorphins that are things that help us to feel better, help us to have a more positive outlook, and help us to help our brains to just function better. You know, if you go outside and take a walk in the fresh air, after you come back, you feel rejuvenated. And your mind works more efficiently if you do that as well.
Wow. So for people maybe that don't have the ability to exercise as long or as hard as others, is there still some benefit found in moderate exercise?
Absolutely. In fact, for the majority of our patients, we recommend moderate exercise. And the way we define moderate exercise is if you are able to exercise and keep up a conversation, you are at a moderate pace. When you're winded and out of breath, you've gone beyond moderate to more intense exercise. And so what I tell patients is, you know, if you're able to keep up a conversation, then you're able to exercise at a moderate pace. And that is different for each of us as individuals because we all have a different level of exercise tolerance. So I tell people, start where you are. If you can only walk for 5 or 10 minutes, do that. But then every day, try to increase that a little bit and do a little bit more. And research has shown that if you do that, you can actually reverse heart disease, you can reverse diabetes, you can reverse high blood pressure, some of these diseases that we consider the lifestyle diseases.
So you recommend to people to kind of start a little slower into it, maybe if it's something that they haven't been doing frequently or maybe haven't done ever, just to kind of slowly ease into exercise and not push it too hard.
Yes, yes. And then as they're getting more accustomed to it, gradually build up.
So what about for someone maybe who's just struggling to find the motivation to get up and maybe exercise early in the morning, or they're wondering where is the right time to exercise? What kind of motivation or tips can you offer to someone like that?
So I do recommend exercising early in the morning. Early in the morning, the air outside is the cleanest. You know, there's been less traffic and industry through the night, and so the air is clean. I recommend trying to exercise outside if at all possible. Research also shows that people who exercise early in the morning tend to stick to the exercise habit better. You know, when we say, oh, I'll exercise when I get home from work, it usually doesn't happen because by the time we get home from work, we're tired and it's been a long day. Something that can be motivational for people is if you exercise with somebody else, you are able to each motivate the other to stick with the exercise. Or now with the different types of exercise programs and social media, sometimes just sharing your exercise with others and sort of not necessarily making it into a competition, but trying to see who can get the most steps in a day or at least share with somebody else so you have some accountability that you're keeping your exercise going. I think that's a great way to motivate people and keep them on track. Some people like to see that they've hit their step goal, 10,000 steps or more. And so having something that tracks your steps like a watch or a phone or a pedometer can be a good motivator for some people as well.
Well, thank you, Dr. Glott, for taking the time to share with us about exercise, and I hope that we can implement some of these principles to start out wherever we are, just to exercise a bit.
Yes.
Up next, we have Dr. Nedley, who's going to be sharing about exercise and its effect on our minds.
Hi, I'm Dr. Nedley. Did you know that physical exercise is actually better for your brain than for your body? Physical exercise is great for your body by providing enhanced heart and lung function, as well as improved endurance, muscle tone, and strength. However, the benefits for your brain are even better as it improves energy, endurance, mood, sleep, pleasure, and better ability to manage your emotions and tolerate frustrations. Engaging in aerobic exercise like brisk walking, running, swimming, and cycling for at least 60 minutes a day gives the best results. So get active today.
Whether it's a fast-paced game of tennis or something simple like going for a walk, exercise helps us win at the game of life. Up next, Dean Cullinan will take us back to the Bible times to show its continuing value.
I like to think of life as a race, a really, really long one. A marathon that we're constantly running, one where we're getting fitter, stronger, and growing. Exercise is essential to growth. I mean, we've practically been designed for it. We walk, we run, we squat and we lift, we pull, power, and push our way through, over and under all manner of obstacles. This in turn makes us fitter, but also prepares us for the experiences in life that are going to be really, really tough. Faith is like a muscle. And if we don't use it, strengthen it, and exercise it daily, it too will eventually just atrophy and die. And that's how it might be with your faith too. In the beginning, it can seem quite weak, like it's not really accomplishing a whole lot. But that's okay. That's when you look to Jesus. That's when you behold Him. That's when you feast on His Word and look for opportunities to grow your faith, like sharing the blessings of God with others so that they too can experience a true new start. Now, it may not work out in the beginning the way that you thought. It may be difficult, and at times it may even hurt. But like any good fitness instructor, I'm here to tell you that you can do it. The question is, when you head out in the morning on your quest for a great walk, will you find time to walk with God in here?
Now, doesn't this beat watching TV from a couch? In today's episode, we not only saw practical ways to start exercising, but we discovered just how important exercise is for a balanced lifestyle. Perhaps you have a few more questions about exercise or other health principles, and would like something a little bit more in depth. Well, we'd like to invite you to become a part of our NEWSTART online family. Our program features 40+ health presentations, pre-recorded by our NEWSTART medical team, delicious whole food plant-based recipes from the NEWSTART kitchen, and the encouragement and resources needed to make a change that will last. All this and more is just a few clicks away, so visit the link below to get your journey started today. And use the promo code NEWSTART now to get 10% off your first subscription. Exercise is hard, and it's hard to take the first step, but once you do, it's the gift that keeps on giving back. Until next time, I'm your host, Jonathan Hunter, and remember, it's never too late to make a new start now.
I own 2 businesses, and I was just realizing that I was putting my health kind of on the back burner, trying to juggle lots of things, business, family, etc. And one day I was flipping through the channels and I found the NEWSTART program was available. And coming here, I realized that I wanted to just make sure that my health was a priority so that I could better serve others. And I met all of my health goals, and not only that, I really learned that Processed foods and other things that aren't good for us will never taste as good as health feels. And I'm really grateful for NEWSTART for that.
I was diagnosed with a learning disability that said that I couldn't put things in the proper order, called nonverbal learning disorder. And it meant that I took a medication to help me sort of think accurately, to plan my days, and to be a little less confused. And I still found my mind to be pretty fuzzy at times and find myself not understanding a lot. And so I've been at Weimar now for 18 days, and after switching to a whole food, plant-based diet, I discovered that I really didn't need the meds to think accurately during the course of my day. I found a lot of the confusion or places where my mind felt fuzzy and I couldn't think clearly to really go away.